Hi guys, my name is Lance Hawkins. I'm with Guardian Flight. Been a pilot for him for quite a while. I'm rated in both the PC-12 and the C90. We're going to show you the medical cruise pre-flight walk-around and what's expected of it for the King Air C90. First we're going to go over, it's going to be bullet pointed at fuel caps, then aircraft covers and plugs, condition of the aircraft exterior, exterior latches, leaks, tampering, windows, potential of tire conditions and chocks, removal of traffic cones, and anything else that might seem out of place or out of norm. Alright guys, first item we're going to touch on today is the fuel caps. We have 4 fuel caps on this aircraft, 2 main wings and 2 nacelles. We'll point them out here. We got outboard wing just above the engine and to the back, and the same thing mirrored on the other side. We're going to look at some correct installations of fuel caps and some incorrect installations of fuel caps. The good news is you guys get to answer whether they're correct or incorrect. Alright guys, let's take a look at one example of how you might find a fuel cap. You guys think this one is incorrect or correct? That's right, if you guys selected incorrect, then you guys are correct. If the tab is up, it is not locked down and it will leak out. So let's take a look at this fuel cap here. What do you think? Is it on correct or incorrect? If you picked correct, then that is right. Let's look at why it's correct. If you take a look at it, the latch is properly latched down. The fuel cap is not cockeyed inside the fueler neck, and everything kind of looks like the way it's supposed to look. Alright guys, let's take a look at a couple of caps now, and you can tell me whether you think these are incorrect or correct, and I hope you guys answer these ones properly because it's kind of obvious. That's right, if you said they were incorrect, you were absolutely right. Alright, since you guys are such wizards here and we've learned so much about fuel caps, we got a doozy for you. So tell me, do you guys think this one is correct or incorrect? If you said correct, you were wrong. This one is actually incorrect. If you notice, the front of the cap is slightly up and flush with the skin of the aircraft. This is one of the more common scenarios that we find in the field after being fueled by an FBO or any of the other fueling companies that we might use. It no longer is sealed to the aircraft, and we should let the pilot know to reseat the fuel cap. Alright guys, we're going to talk about plugs and covers for the aircraft engines, various other ports along the aircraft. What you're going to look for and expect to be gone by the time you guys show up for a flight. Let's start on the engine area here. Most of these are in one piece, however some of them are a little more worn and might not be connected to everything else. Doesn't mean they're bad, just means that they're a little bit old. First we're going to talk about our prop chocks, engine intake cover, and exhaust covers. These are very simple to see. There's a big red plug cover in the exhaust. We got a big red plug cover in the intake, and a big red prop chock holding the prop in place. Second one we're going to look at is all the way back here against the wing, and this is going to be a heat exchanger cover. We're going to move forward here, and we got our pitot cover. This tells us our airspeed. It's kind of a little more important. That's mirrored on both this side and the other side. Alright guys, next item we're going to be talking about is condition of aircraft exterior and more in depth as to damage. Really, it's not a hard subject to go over. If you're looking around and you see paint chipped due to dents, dings, scrape, or tears, anything that might be of that nature, most of the time it's due to somebody backing into an aircraft, the door dragging on the ground maybe, wingtip hitting a wall, or something else along the way. Maybe you guys accidentally hit a bird on the flight prior and you guys didn't catch it. These are different ideas or different things as to what might be aircraft exterior damage. Alright guys, let's take a look at some of the latches on the aircraft. After this short little video, you're going to see some pictures of all the different locations of where these latches may be on the aircraft. But let's look at proper installation. Right now this panel is properly latched down. You note that our latches here are flush and our panel is flush. If you happen to walk up to an aircraft and you got one latch open, or possibly you have two latches open, that is not correct, and it needs to be looked at and relatched. So go ahead and let your pilot know. He can come take a look at it and relatch it. Or let's say here that someone was not paying attention to what they were doing and they latched it down without it being in the proper location. You got your latches that are flush, however you don't have your panel that's flush with the rest of it. And you notice you got a couple pins hanging down on the bottom. That is also improperly latched and should be corrected before flight. All right guys, we're going to take a look and see at fluids and what you might see around the aircraft on the ground, what may be normal, what might not be normal, and the different types of fluids that you'll potentially see around the aircraft. On the aircraft we obviously have fuel is one fluid, oil is another fluid, hydraulic fluid is a third fluid. I'm pretty sure that's about all the fluids that you'll find around the aircraft. It's not uncommon to see on a nice hot day right after we get fueled to see a little bit of a drip out of some vent lines in the wing. That's normal, but hey, let your pilot know, say, hey, I kind of saw something dripping, just want to make sure we're good. Safety above all else for this stuff. However, if you happen to see any red fluid underneath the tires, wheel area, engine nacelle, anything of that nature, let your pilot know. It's probably going to be a hydraulic leak of some sort, and that's going to need to get taken a look at by the mechanics. Underneath the engine nacelles also is a common place you might find oil. If it's over serviced with oil, the engine will spew a little bit out and it'll start dripping when you land. That's not uncommon and it's not abnormal. Every engine has a personality and every engine likes to run with a certain level of oil. And if you overfill it, well, it's just going to puke it out. All right, guys, I forgot one thing in the fluids section. Surprise, surprise. When you see any of these fluids, don't put your fingers in it to try and find out what it is. You never know what type of fluid you're touching. All right, guys, let's talk about tampering for a moment. Tampering is hard to tell and hard to detect. Sometimes it doesn't look like anything more than the pilot forgot to latch the fuel cap correctly, or a panel was not latched properly by the last person in it, which chances are, if it was tampered with, it wasn't latched properly the first time or the last time someone was in it. Different areas though to look for tampering would be fuel caps, any of the panels that we talked about around the engines, maybe the cabin door is left open and you left it closed. It's really more of a feel thing with a lot of that stuff and remembering how you left the aircraft. So with tampering, it's kind of hard to tell, but if you happen to feel like something's been tampered with, go ahead and let your pilot know, because there's some inspections that might have to take place depending on where and what's been tampered with. So keep a good eye and watch for it. Let's talk a little bit about aircraft window cleanliness. I can tell you from a pilot standpoint, it's not very often that I look through the cabin windows. So if you guys happen to notice that they're a little bit dirty, well, it's probably time to clean them. The reason for this is more of a safety factor than picture taking or scenery looking at, or any of your other fun things that we'll do on our flights back potentially. If we happen to see traffic, or if the windows are too dirty that we can't see traffic out of those windows, it turns into a safety hazard. So if you guys happen to notice that they're a little dirtier than they should be, hey, it's time to clean them. Not a big deal. We just get a can of spray and spray it down and clean it. We're nearing the end of this walk around inspection, guys, so let's talk about wheel chocks and tire conditions that you might see. Fortunately, this tire looks pretty brand new, so we're not going to be able to see if it's worn. However, we are going to be able to talk about a pair of chocks that we have. Two of the most common pairs of chocks that you'll see is these cute little things here that kind of feel like they should be for a Tonka toy. They work, but they're smaller. We keep them in our plug bags that we take with us. The second type is going to be our larger wheel chocks here. If you happen to see these around the wheels as you're climbing in the aircraft to shut the door, well, we're not going to get very far. So we need to go ahead and pull those out, or get out and pull those. However, let the pilot know that they're in. He'll be the one to pull them out. Let's talk a little bit about tire conditions. So like I said earlier, this one's brand new, it looks like, and it's not very worn. However, if you come across some tires that are worn, or what we call flat spotted, you'll notice that there could potentially be what looks like a black and white checkerboard looking bit on it. That's what we call the cords. Once the cords are shown, the tire needs to be replaced. So if you happen to see what appears to be black and white checkered marking, and it's going to be pretty small, let your pilot know so that he can get with the mechanic and have those changed. So traffic cones, they're a killer in the aviation industry. You'll notice that a lot of the FBOs like to mark the do not cross points for their vehicles with traffic cones. So if you happen to go out to an airport and you land and you unload the patient and you're coming back, you'll see them around the aircraft, and it's usually up to the pilot's job to remove them if the line staff isn't up to par on getting stuff done like they should be. So if you happen to see one around the aircraft, such as this guy here, either remove it or let the pilot know that you're removing it, or he needs to remove it. Any one of the options is good. But you'll find the traffic cones towards the front of the aircraft just to the left, usually out along the wingtips, and one at the very back of the aircraft. These all should be removed before you guys get in and fire up. Alright, so let's talk about something else. This is the final item. This is more of an observation throughout your entire walk around. It's anything that seems out of place. Some of the items that we're going to talk about on this are going to be, let's say it just came out of maintenance and this is the first flight of the day for it. And there happens to be a gear door or something of that nature that wasn't put back on correctly and didn't get caught in the return to service inspection. It's going to be very unnoticeable until you're actually looking at it. It's just one minor example. The other stuff that could be is maybe there's just some odd things happening around it that seem out of place and need attention to. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what we might find. Hey, who's that under the aircraft? What are you doing there? People, see? Just odd things out of the place that shouldn't be there. But no, let's get a little more serious now, guys. Your fluid drippings, anything that might just look a little bit odd. This stuff comes into play also with your tampering, and kind of encompasses all the aspects of your pre-flight walk around. Alright guys, we're going to have some fun today now. I'm going to go up and find one of my crew members. I don't know who's up there, who's going to get suckered into doing this, but we're going to get him to do, or her for that matter, to do a walk around. And I'm going to set him up. I'm going to put a few things. There's going to be 3 items that I put out of place, and we'll see if he catches them, or her. Alright guys, I was lucky enough to drag out one of my fellow coworkers around here to do his pre-flight walk around. So we're just going to follow him around behind him and see if he happens to find anything wrong with the aircraft as it's ready to rock and roll. Ready? Mm-hmm. Let's do it. Okay. Checking the lights, checking the leading edges. Here's the fuel caps, latches. Make sure the plugs and the props look good.
Wheel chocks.
And the fuel caps. Static ports.
Back to my starting point.
And that is a proper pre-flight walk around. All right guys, you just watched a successful walk around by our buddy John. Some recommendations if you guys have two crews, which you're probably going to, whether it's medic, nurse, or nurse, medic, make sure you guys or try and go opposite directions, such as counterclockwise and clockwise. Different angles might let you see different things, and more eyes are better than 2 or 3 sets, you know. The other thing is, I'm sure you noticed in the video that he probably saw that cover before he got to it. The reason he didn't go directly to it, that he continued to check all of his other stuff as he normally does, is he keeps the same routine every time. And I recommend this to you guys as well, just because the same routine is going to keep you from missing anything. The other thing to this is you probably noticed he did a lot more items and looking at things than we went over in the video. It's not a bad thing. However, if you want to add more to it, make sure you talk with your pilot or a mechanic to make sure you're not messing anything else up or putting an aircraft in an unsafe situation unintentionally because of lack of education and knowledge. And remember guys, all these items are just the beginning. We want to make sure that we can provide a safe, compassionate, and efficient air medical transport. Have a fantastic time. Enjoy the rest of your class.